right, so thank you women so much for joining the panel tonight. Tonight is International Women's Day, and I think that today is really a day about recognizing the struggles that women face in business, but it's also a day to recognize the achievements that we have as women. All right, let's get this started. So, talking about the brilliant women in our community, people that inspire us. Lena is definitely someone that inspires me, so for you guys, in your careers, who is a woman that has inspired you in your career?
Of course, my mom, and the sacrifice that she put forth for me and my brothers and sisters. And I think I'd be remiss not to mention all the women before me who didn't have the same advantages I had in their lives. I think we're in a very unique time in history where the young women in today's world are growing up in a world where they don't have the same sort of discrimination or sexual harassment that they have to deal with on a day-to-day workplace that I had to deal with when I first started in the workplace, and I know many of you had to deal with when you first started in the workplace. So I think it's all come to fruition due to all the women that came before me, and I could not have done it without them, honestly.
Thank you, Lena. Marsha?
For me, it wasn't really a single woman, it was a movement. When I was in graduate school, I studied rhetoric. There is such a thing. I studied the feminist and anti-feminist rhetoric of the suffrage movement compared with the ERA movement. And I was a time, I went to high school in the 60s, and recently I bought a history book that was published in 1966. And out of a 900-page book, it had 1/2 of a page about women's history. You would think that there was one woman who kind of got the vote for everybody. And so for me, what was so incredibly empowering about studying that was finding out about all of these women who spent their entire lives to accomplish something, which was not just getting the vote. It was about equal pay for equal work. It was about equal opportunity. It was about legal equality. And so, but what really stuck with me all this time is the suffrage movement started in 1848, and women didn't earn the right to vote. The 19th Amendment wasn't passed until 1920. So what it taught me was it takes a long time to create significant change. 72 years. Women like Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony died before that amendment got passed. And then in 1923, the Equal Rights Amendment was introduced for the first time into Congress. 1923, not in the 70s, didn't get passed until the 70s, and then it took several years to come up short of, I think, 2 states for ratification in 1982. It died. So there is a push now to revive the Equal Rights Amendment. So that's what's really inspired me, and I think made me stick to the work that I've done for over 35 years, is seeing that it takes a lifetime and more to create really positive change.
I love the passion there. Jenny?
The woman that inspires me is Marsha Bailey. No, I'm totally serious. I said this in the car on the way up, and I say this every time I'm asked. The first time I heard her speak, you opened my eyes to, I remember you saying, and it's like in the 80s, women couldn't get a loan. They couldn't buy a house. There's so many things that I knew, but I didn't know. And I go, every time she's speaking, I go, Weave is something I support. The first time I heard you speak, I said, this is the organization I want to be linked with, I want to donate to, I want to be a part of, and you are changing the world. you have changed the world and you're continuing to do it, and you are beyond inspiring, and all of us should take a lesson from what you are doing, what you have done, and that you have stood your ground, and you're a force, and I love you.
I think a lot of us do.
The woman that inspires me is also here tonight, and I'd love for her to raise her hand. Her name is Jen Barron. Where is she? There she is. So Jen Barron, for years, has been working to tackle one of the biggest issues facing women in the world, and it's self-esteem. And Jen wears a necklace, and it says 70% on it, and it's because at the age of 10, more than 70% of girls don't feel good enough. So they struggle with gender, with looks, with weight, with boys in school. And it's a challenge that she felt so passionate about that she created a program called Girls Rock Santa Barbara. And it's about empowering girls through music. And it's music education classes and so much more. And really works with the girls to empower them to really find their inner voice. And all these girls get put in bands, and so they're on drums and keys, and music is the vehicle for which they're able to find that voice. But Jen's been doing it really now since 2012. I've been working alongside her since then, serving on the board there. But what's so fascinating about Girls Rock is that these programs exist all over the world. But Santa Barbara is home to the largest Girls Rock program in the world because she has a policy that no girl is left behind. So 60% of the girls in the program are on scholarship for the program. And she does this so quietly in this community. And I'm hoping that this is going to be the year that everyone in this community is going to find out about Girls Rock, the after-school programs and the summer programs. But thank you, Jen, for all that you're doing for girls in our community.
Hello, everyone. So I thought about this question, and it was a hard one to pick one person. But I'm a gaucho. I went to UCSB, and I was in a drama class there a while ago. I won't tell you when I graduated. You can all guess. But we had to do a report on an actress or an actor that inspired us. And so I did, and I chose Katharine Hepburn. And she was the first person that came to mind to me. So I kind of went back to those days of why did I pick that woman? And so I read a little bit about her biography before this evening, and she inspired me from a very young age, because we all grew up, watching the movies and whatnot, and she was fiercely independent. She, was one of those women who wanted to control her own destiny. She broke the mold of what a woman was supposed to be in those days. She was the first woman to, wear trousers. My gosh, how scandalous was that? And, so she was a fashion icon in that respect. And, she lived to, I think, about 96. And her way of living, of being athletic, which was, we just take it for granted now. Women do sports, women work out, but, there were no girls' sports teams like the Girls Rock type of thing. So that was outside of her time. And she, at one point, when her career wasn't going well, she bought her own contract from RKO and decided to, produce her own movie, The Philadelphia Story, and she had to star in it, and that just launched her back into the limelight. And so I just look at what she did in a time when, we all know what's happened in Hollywood and, what women had to face, and, she was definitely, I think, a trailblazer and a groundbreaker, and, that she always inspired me, and I think I kind of emulated that. She gave me the courage to, do whatever I wanted to do. It didn't matter if women hadn't done it before. I can set my mind to it, and so that was mine.
Perfect. Thank you, Kim. And I think that I can speak for a lot of us here. You guys are inspirations to us, and you guys and your work in your communities and your commitment to your communities and getting to where you are, you've inspired so many people. So I did want to say that you guys are inspirations as well. Speaking about that, I do want to ask specific questions. So Kerri, Lena, you both are presidents of your respective companies. So for all of us out here, I think we'd want to know, what was that journey like to get to where you are? What was that journey to become the female president of these companies?
Sure. I think really, I really started in a corporate job, and I made the transition to nonprofit back in 2009. But throughout my career, I really said yes a lot, and it was saying yes to every opportunity that came my way, and that I really wanted to get experience, I wanted to get involved, I really wanted to know the organizations that I worked for. And so I'd spent about 13 years with a pharmaceutical company, and then back in 2009, it was the midst of the financial crisis, and the CEO of the company that I worked for at the time was called GlaxoSmithKline, and our CEO had said he wanted to take a handful of executives and embed us in nonprofits all over the world to do capacity building. And I was the only one from our commercial organization in our office in Philadelphia that agreed to go. And it was a 6-month assignment, and I was embedded actually in a disaster relief organization here in town. And it was at that moment in time, it was about a month into my job, it was in early 2010, the earthquake in Haiti hit. And I found myself really starting to leverage all of the things I learned in the commercial world to help this nonprofit increase visibility and serve more people. And it was a really big turning point for me in my life that I could actually use my skills for good. And that felt really good. And I'd always wanted to serve and do something, philanthropic, maybe the Peace Corps one day when I retired, but it was an opportunity to make a difference. And that turned into really the next phase of my life, which has been working in disaster relief ever since. But I think the big part was being open to challenges and taking risks, and it wasn't easy. And especially at the time that I left to come here, most people thought I was crazy. They couldn't imagine that during the worst financial crisis our country had hit that I would go. And so, but it changed my life, and I can't imagine doing anything else than serving as the president of ShelterBox, and I love it. And I would just encourage everyone to really get involved, to take risks, and to take on some of those challenges and try something that really moves and motivates you.
Awesome, thank you.
One of the things I realized, and probably early on, was that I had this unique ability, and I think women have this ability just innately, is that we are very intuitive and are able to build deep, lasting relationships with people. And I took that skill set on in a way, and I applied it as a manager. And that actually ended up allowing me to develop really great relationships with my staff and mobilizing them to get more shit done. And I did say yes and took on challenges more than I can even imagine now. That I'm like, you were a crazy person. Why did you say yes so many times? I'm still saying yes. I can't believe I'm taking on this new challenge right now, but I am saying yes to that, yes, and oh my God. And the thing is, someone actually told me this little piece of advice. I think it was probably 15 or 20 years ago. Everyone's a 12-year-old. And when I think about that, and I remember that every day, even when I was back and I was 25 years old and trying to accomplish big things and interacting with people who were twice my age and trying to tell them how it was going to go, I was imagining them as a 12-year-old. And it really does work. Everyone is a 12-year-old, and everything's figure-outable. Every problem is solvable, and as long as you can maintain great relationships with people, have them believe that there is a solution to every problem, have them help you come up with a solution, and then everyone can work together to solve the problem. You know, it's actually really, really simple to succeed. I love that.
So stay open, say yes. Everything is figure-outable. I'm imagining you all as 12-year-olds. Okay. Now, I do want to take a moment and talk a little bit about currently what's happening today for women, and kind of just get your thoughts. So what are your thoughts on the movements like Me Too and Time's Up?
Well, I'm not going to do a typical Lena rant right now about this particular topic. So what I'll say instead, since we're in a public setting, instead what I'll say is it's about time, honestly. And when this Me Too movement happened, of course, I posted Me Too. And then I listed out every Me Too instant. Not every one. I had to narrow it down to one per year. And I went back to the earliest instant I could remember, and it was like I was 10 years old. One per year. And it's like, I feel so bad for poor little 10-year-old Lena. And I have 2 little stepdaughters, and the youngest one is 10. And I'm like, God, I sure hope that that's not happening to them. And it just breaks my heart. This usually is where I lead into the rant. I'm tearing up over here too, so pause there. And still, after the Me Too movement, I went to a conference, and the same effing thing happens. It's embarrassing. I honestly, it's embarrassing that our male counterparts, not all males, but some of our male counterparts just get confused. That's what I think it is. They're just a little confused that I'm here working, doing a job, and they think I'm here on it looking for a date. That's it. It's just, we just need to clarify the situation. And I do, real simply. And that's it. And I think if all of us just get, in line and say, hey, excuse me, you're a little confused here. Come on. And we just keep saying it again and again, I think they'll get the message. And they won't be confused anymore. That's all. Thank you so much, Lena.
Well, I totally agree with you, Lena, and thank you for swearing. So now it's freed me up for my future comments. I think anything that helps women find their voice is good. And the pervasiveness of the women who said Me Too, I think gave other women the courage to come out and admit what had happened to them. And this is something that's been building for a long time. I worked for the Santa Barbara Rape Crisis Center in the 80s. We were working on sexual harassment issues then. It's been going on for a long time. And I agree, it's about time that women found their voice and started speaking up and saying, enough is enough. And I think it's a real tipping point.
I agree.
I agree with everything, and I have 2 9-month-old twin girls, and with the way that the world is and social media, it scares the hell out of me. We all know social media is not going anywhere, and I think it makes the problem even bigger. If you look at what gets a lot of exposure on social media is scantily clad women and this message that we send to little girls that you have to look this certain way and act this certain way to be successful. And so all I can say about it is I know the one thing I can do is lead by example. And so for my children, I am setting a message and having a platform for a message, but my husband and I are definitely on the same page that we have to lead by example, and I have to do the best I can to teach them how to say no and stand up for who they are and teach them about really what true happiness and confidence is, which is loving who you are.
So I think I'm saying this to all of us here tonight women and all of our allies here is that I genuinely feel that our silence is interpreted as our acceptance. And I genuinely believe right now that it's about time. So Lena, I agree with you. I do think there's been just this institutional suppression of these stories for decades that has gone on, and it's terrible. And the tough part is that most of these corporations, these nonprofits, they put profits before people. And the way that they've dealt with it is through packages. And let's get the woman out quickly. And the sad part is that many of those women that we saw in the entertainment industry, they went on to not have careers, and their lives were ruined. And so now what you've seen is this collective voice rising up together, and their strength in numbers. And so, my advice to all of us is 3 different things. It's really to give, to get, and to gather. And it's really to give of our time to causes that affect women. And it's get a mentor, and it's get someone to support you, get someone to give you some perspective. And then it's to gather. So, and it's not just women, it's women and all of our allies to gather together and collectively have a voice and share that voice and speak up, speak out, and really rally together and get together and get out there. So I think it's time.
This time, I love that. Give, get, gather. I love that.
I don't know how I can add to this. I think everyone's had wonderful things to say about the movement. I guess I would just hope that it doesn't just fade away as a fad, hashtag something, there's things that happen that still are unexplained, like the Las Vegas shooting. And where is that? We still don't know. So I would just hope that this movement would continue in other relevant ways, that it isn't just a fad that you put hashtag Me Too, or you participate in some sort of a gathering, but that you make an active choice in your life as a woman to, if you have children, teach them, lead by example, share things that maybe happened to you, break the silence, share things that happened to you and how you dealt with it, and let them know. I've shared some experiences I had with my daughters, and I always fought back. I never really allowed that to happen to me, so I don't have a horrible story, but I certainly could have if I hadn't have stood up for myself. And being in a place of power where you are part of the decision-making process, and for women business owners, getting more involved, serving on boards where those decisions are made, running for public office, empowering, our voice. I would just hope that we would be encouraged to continue to do that, so that slowly but surely we can change the culture, we can educate everyone, and it isn't just this unspoken silent acceptance anymore. And I think this broke through that, and now I'm excited to see what other changes will happen. So I remain very hopeful.
Yes. Thank you, ladies, so much for opening up on these questions. I think it's being strong enough to, yes, break the silence and tell your stories, and being a strong woman that can say that. I want to kind of transition, go a little bit back into some accomplishments. What are we proud of? And I'm going to start, actually, Kim, let's go back to you. I know we didn't hear from you that last time. So what are you most proud of overcoming as a female in business?
Okay, well, I would say I started off in a corporate position as well. I wasn't a business owner or a partner of a business, and I ended up working for a company for a very long time. I was looking at, the baby boomer years, then the Gen X, and where do I fit in? And I'm kind of in between in some areas. And so I was in a position for a very, very long time, and things changed, and I wasn't happy. And I had to learn the lesson that my job or whatever I was doing doesn't define who I am. I need to define who I am and then I need to decide what I want to do with my skills and my talents. So I left a position that I had been in for a very long time, and it was a very risky move. It was hard to have the courage to leave and reinvent myself and do something else. And I think we can apply that to work, we can apply that to relationships, we can apply that to living situations, you know, just having the courage to know that step out there, we can make that change. So in doing that and reinventing myself, I had a conversation with someone the other day, and I was kind of talking about my career and the different things I had done and where I ended up. And they're like, well, you're sort of a Renaissance woman, aren't you? And I thought, well, I never thought of it that way. But I'll take that as a big compliment. And being able to reinvent yourself, I think now is much more acceptable. People don't stay in the same role or position their entire career. And as women, we are the best multitaskers in the world, you know, especially if you have a family or you've got, you know, pets or what have you. We're doing it all the time. Stepping outside of that box, and that gave me the courage to continue to do new things and have the courage to, you know, sure, I'll become a partner. I'll develop things that don't even exist right now. There's no roadmap. I'll just go out there and blaze a trail and put this together, and it's really helped Noozhawk grow and be profitable. And I love my partners, and we have a great working relationship. And so I think just, you know, making that distinction in my mind was my breakthrough.
Yeah. Love that. And saying yes again, saying yes. I do want to ask the same question to Jenny and Marsha. I'm sorry, Marsha. So Jenny, what are you proud of overcoming? What is something you're proud of?
Gosh, what is something I'm proud of? I'm proud of it all. Like, we don't say that enough. I think as women, we don't know how to take a compliment. A lot of us, sometimes, we don't know how to take a compliment. Like, people say, you look great. And you're like, no, I still got like 10 more pounds to lose. You know, or you're like, oh. I'm like, people are like, you look great. I'm like, right? Yeah, I feel great. Like, thank you. I'm proud of it all. I'm going to kind of flip that. I totally believe in saying yes to opportunity, but I'm really proud that I learned how to say no. Yeah. I used to give my business away a lot because I wanted people to like me, and I used to think like, oh, if I just gave it to them for free, people would say, can I come do the program, or can I have this, and can I have that? And I would say, yeah, because I would think if I gave it to them, then they would like me, and then they would eventually, you know, purchase, and then it would, and that is actually the complete opposite. The more you give away, the more people expect it, and they just take advantage of you. And it wasn't until, luckily, I have very strong people in my life. My business partner said, you know, you need, if this is what you want to do in life and you believe in what you do, you need to value you. And the day that I learned that I'm valuable and what I do is valuable, and I learned to stand up for that and say no, was a crucial turning point in my business.
Well, I hope it goes without saying that I'm, of course, incredibly proud of Weave and my staff and all we've been able to accomplish over the last 27 years. But on a more personal level, I think what I'm most proud of is overcoming my own sense of inadequacy. And, you know, I think I share that with just about every woman on earth, is that somehow we're born as confident little human beings, and at some point, and for me, I know exactly when it happened, junior high, I just lost every shred of confidence that I had, and it took me a long time to get it back. And I know people have asked me, you know, can you point to like a turning point in your career that was important to you? And I don't remember exactly when it was, but I remember how empowering it felt to get to a point where all of a sudden I felt like if somebody presented me with a challenge, I didn't have to have done that in the past to know that I could do it, that I was smart, I was capable, and whatever it was, I could figure it out.
That's so true. Just being able to say, yes, I can. I don't have to have done this before, but I can figure it out. All right, you guys. So I do want to ask everyone one last question and then give everyone the opportunity to mingle. There's amazing women here tonight, so do make sure that you guys are meeting each other and exchanging information. We want to make sure that we are providing that arena for you guys tonight as well. So lastly, for everyone. We have these women here tonight. We're going to be sharing this. I see a couple cameras out. What is a message that you would like to share tonight? It's International Women's Day. What's a message that you would like to share?
Do what you want to do. You know, there's no reason why you can't wear what you want to wear, be what you want to be, do what you want to do. Do what you want to do. F everything else.
There we go.
Okay, here's my message. Stop being so damn nice. Stop apologizing for having an opinion or taking up space. Stop feeling guilty about wanting things and asking for what you want. And when the jerk in the conference room interrupts you, learn to say one thing. Let me finish.
Yeah, I'm like, that gets a huge clap right there.
Yeah, that was awesome. What's my one message? Accept yourself, respect yourself, and love yourself.
So the hashtag for today is Push for Progress, and there is a global gender gap report that recently came out, and it said it is going to take 217 years to achieve gender parity. And so while we're making some advancements in education and health, we're still way, way behind in the workplace and in politics. So my advice is really continue to push for progress, and that all of us need to be advocates to really start to change the global gender gap.
I guess my message would be, as entrepreneurs, a lot of us, find your passion and follow it, because if you know what you're passionate about, you don't have to force yourself to get up and go to work or do something. I mean, it's just going to come from the heart. And I think anything that is genuinely felt is where people find their greatest successes. So when you follow your passion, and then get some help, you know, like figure out what your passion is, and then get someone to do your payroll, or get someone to, you know, help you scale your business, or to handle all the nitty-gritty, because we can't all do it ourselves. I think women try to. We don't ask for help. It's like, oh, I don't want to bother them. Being too nice, right? You know, ask for help. Delegate. You know, build an army around you to help you follow your passion. And I think you'll not only find success, but happiness. And to me, I think happiness is success. It isn't monetary. It's loving what you do, and waking up and being happy that you get to go do it again. So.
All right, thank you ladies so much for being here tonight and answering our questions. At this time, we're going to go ahead and go back to mingling and networking. And I think through conversations like tonight, this is the exact platform. So I want to say thank you to Lena, thank you to Landon, thank you to Ontraport for bringing us this community together. It's through things like this that we'll be able to #push for progress. So thank you.